Yeah. And we don't want somebody to say, oh, they started early and I didn't get off work till 3:59 and 59 milliseconds.
I hope they got one of those things they can teleport in on.
Yeah. One thing that nobody really knows is that some goblin comes in here at night and lowers all of these chairs except for one. And then it's, and these chairs are going with us to the new building, by the way, because when
This
you
is higher, so you ought to.
when you sit in one and you just sit in it, it goes down and it gives you a complex like, do I really weigh 500 pounds? Because a chair can't hold me. Yeah. I might switch because
I'd switch. It seems like the grocery checkout line.
this is the one that goes down. Watch, probably. Oh. It did. See, it's going down a little bit. Okay. Diet around the corner.
Very good.
Well, it's better than the last one. Well, good. Somewhere in the world it's 4 o'clock, so we're going to start. Welcome, everyone, to this meeting of the Washington County Board of Commissioners, March 16th, 2021. It's soon to be 4 o'clock, but we sure appreciate you being here. I'd like to say in advance of the meeting that these are rebroadcast on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. They're also available on demand at youtube.com Community Education Channel. We appreciate those who are here. And having said that, is there another medium? Do we also do a Facebook? Facebook Live as well. So we welcome also those who might be joining us on Zoom. We almost always have to say that these days. 10 years from now, we'll say it, and maybe somebody will say, I don't even know what that means. But here we are. We appreciate you being here. We'd like to begin with our invocation by Carmela Fitzpatrick of the Unity Center of Positive Learning. Carmela, thank you for being here with us.
Yes, it's positive living, and the reason it's of positive living, we believe in being positive now, not tomorrow.
Wonderful.
So with that, I do also want to say that it's sort of like it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, except it's being positive anonymous. So with that, I do want to say that one positive thing is we have been created in the image of God, and because of that, God did help guide us into creating organizations, government, all of this, and inspired each and every one that's here today to be a part of that, and inspired whoever's here for whatever reason to be part of that. And that's actually beautiful. Even with COVID going on, because we are in the image of God, we manage. All is well. And that's the important thing to always remember. So with that, I want to say a prayer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for always being with us, for always loving us, for always inspiring us, giving us a sense of humor and enjoyment in our daily life, and for being with each and every one on this day, in this room, and loving us and guiding us each way. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you
Carmela.
very much. Very beautiful.
And you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. Okay. Following that, we'd love to have our Pledge of Allegiance by Frank Book, who is a U.S. Air Force Colonel, retired Military Officers Association of America, and one of our newest Planning Commission members. And we sure appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Commissioners. And on behalf of the local chapter of the Military Officers Association, I'd like to invite everybody to stand and face the flag. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, having greatest appreciation for those who start our meetings off right, and we've done that. We now have our consent agenda, which is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda, which is consisting of item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payments for March 3rd, 2021 through March 16th, 2021. Item B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2021. C, consideration of administrative adjustments real property. Item D, consideration of administrative adjustments personal property. Item E, consideration of applications for property tax abatement, which are 9 of them. Item F is consideration of applications for payment plan to settle delinquent property tax. G, consideration of Washington County Housing and domain name for Leadership Dixie, a nonprofit entity as an ongoing sponsorship. And item H, consideration of amendment for medical surge and event equipment distribution and joint response and operation. And item I, acknowledgement of publishing notice of adoption of ordinance number 2021-1171-0 on Saturday, March 6, 2021, and that is my motion.
And Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to second Commissioner Iverson's motion.
Very good. Motion and a second. All who approve of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. We have our county assessor here, and we have a special award to give. There he is. I was looking for David, and he was right behind the door. And so we're so appreciative of you being here. We have this special moment. If you'll come up, and David, for recognizing those who have longevity with the county, and this is one of the longer, and so appreciate it. And you don't look like you could have been here 30 years, but when you start when you're 10, you can be. But 30 years of service to our dear David Miller. Thank you. And we will come down and get a picture.
And we might want Tom to speak a little bit too.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, David, if you want to say something, you can. Otherwise, we'll leave it up. Okay, please do.
It'll be quick and not too painful, I promise, David. I just thought, and I remember meeting David for the very first time when I showed up to work a little over 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I think since I've been at the county assessor's office, I only recall one other person that had worked continuous 30 years in the assessor's office. So this is a rare occasion. But I just wanted to share a couple. He may not know this, or if he did, he forgot from a long time ago, but there were a few people that wrote letters about their experience with Dave to the assessor's office, and I just wanted to read one little paragraph out of a couple of them here. But they talked about, my call was after 4:30 p.m. and Mr. Miller returned my call and supplied me with the knowledge I needed. Mr. Miller was extremely courteous and presented himself in a very professional manner. Please convey to Mr. Miller my appreciations for his time and services. Thank you. Another one, thanks so much for your extra time and trouble to help me at 4:55 on a Friday night before a 3-day weekend. It took the time to thank you for your excellent service to me and to this community. I think that it's rare when people will write a letter of praise, and it's nice to be able to read that about people that you work with. He's part of the leadership team in our office, and appreciate all of his contributions. So, congratulations, 30 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, for everyone that takes time to write a letter of appreciation, there's several hundred more who felt that way. And so our thanks to David. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Emergency Services Report. Is that, okay, please, come on up. I'm looking back there and thought it was you.
Yes, it's me. So this report is from February 15th through March 15th. And you'll notice on this report that it's very similar to some of the ones we've had this year, and it kind of varies depending on the time of year, what areas are hot spots. But we had 10 calls, search and rescue calls, 326 man-hours during this month. That puts us for the year at 24 search and rescue events so far. Interestingly enough, in this report, we responded to 10 people, but of the 10, 7 were from out of county and 3 were from in county, which is kind of vice versa from the last month's report. So I'll just give you a brief synopsis of some of these 10 here. On February 21st, we had a missing person out at Purgatory Flats, which is out by our facility out there. And we did quite an extensive search looking for this person because their family had suggested that he was in the area, and we found some things to indicate that he might be there. In the end, he ended up walking from Purgatory to Mesquite and getting a hotel room, and that's where we actually found him. We didn't find him, but we got word that he was there and reunited him with his family. There were some mental conditions there that.
That's not a straight walk, straight
That's
path.
that is a very, very long walk. So, and we spent a lot of time in the area trying to find him, and he wasn't there, so obviously we never found him, but that was a very interesting call.
So from now on, when somebody's missing in Purgatory, you say, have you checked Mesquite?
Yeah. That might be our first protocol from now on. On February 27th, we had an injured hiker on Scout Trail. We spent 20 hours on that. On March 1st, we had an injured hiker in Confluence Park, and that was a 15-year-old male that fell 30 feet and ended up in Primary Children's Hospital. And my understanding is that he's still there recovering, so it was a fairly serious event.
Wow.
On March 4th, a couple lost hikers in Cana Mountain, which is near Water Canyon. We get a lot of response for calls there. March 6th, we had an injured mountain biker on Zen Trail. And then again on the same day, another injured mountain biker on White Reef Trail. So that's kind of a trend that we respond to quite frequently. We had an overdue hiker on March 6th again, so that's a triple header that day. On Cottonwood Trail, and we spent 18 hours looking for her husband. The gal had contacted us about finding him. On March 7th, we had a UTV accident on Sand Mountain, pretty typical for us. That one was 16 man hours. On March 8th, we had kind of a unique event at Quail Creek Reservoir. We had a response late in the evening to go looking for a man who apparently went fishing that day and hadn't come home. We found the boat near adjacent to the boat, about 150 feet away. We eventually found the body. And interestingly enough, we had responded to a very similar search and rescue event last August where this gentleman was involved in another fishing event in Enterprise. So at least he died doing what he loved, because for sure he was into fishing. Elderly subject, and one of the things that we always caution is don't go alone, because there's lots of precarious places in this county where you can get yourself into trouble. And without somebody with you, it's hard for anybody to know. And he had a life jacket in the boat. Don't know why he wasn't wearing it, but it was just one of those things that probably could have been prevented. And lastly, on March 10th, we had a vehicle recovery out at Gunlock. Guy just got out of his car, didn't put it in park, and it drove itself into the reservoir. And since we have the capability of raising vehicles or boats with the airbag system, we responded to that and helped recover the vehicle. But no one was harmed there. And that's kind of the report for this month.
Undersheriff, would you mind giving a shout out to the medical examiner,
Absolutely.
who often accompanies you and has a very difficult job as well?
Yeah, and he responded. Yep. I will. I'll let him know. That's Scott Lemon.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's
Thank you for
part of your team too.
Thank you so
Yes.
that
much.
service. And does Tom, maybe Chief Coben, have anything that he needs to report on or cover?
Chief? Okay.
Okay, thank you for being here.
All righty. Well, we do appreciate all those services. Please extend our thanks to everyone. Next are some purchase requests from Ray.
Okay. All right, the first one here is for some more library basement repairs. This one is to paint the walls and refinish the base in the basement that was flooded. This is approved by the insurance adjuster and for a cost of $11,668. The next one here is for a new truck for one of the building inspectors. Theirs is starting to fail and fall apart. This is for a 2021 Ford F-150 for $40,189. The next one is for the Dixie Center. This is for some more tables so they can have more space provided for social distancing and crowd control. This is a total of $31,992. The next one is a blanket PO for Legacy Park. This is for bagged shavings for $11,000. This will cover their need for the year. The next one is for equipment fuel for the roads department. This is the dyed diesel fuel and a total of $19,235.81. The next one is also for the roads department. Now that we've paid off the 2020 chipping projects, it's time to start planning for the 2021 chipping projects. So this is in preparation for that. This is chips for the Old Highway 91 project and Sky Ranch for $113,900. The next one is also for library repairs,
Ray,
replacement.
can I don't know if this matters a whole lot, but the bid is for $113,950, and the PO is for $113,900. And so, I don't know whether we need to make any adjustment for those, or
Yeah, that's my fault. I'll fix that. So it's $13,950. I missed the
the
5, sorry.
950 is correct then.
Yep, sorry about that.
Ray just lost $50.
Oh my gosh. It's there somewhere. Okay, back on to the next one for more repair for the flood damage at the St. George Library. This is for replacement of the flood damaged carpet there and also approved by the insurance. This is $40,743.92. And unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
I don't know if my fellow
I've got one here
commissioners
for ratifying.
I was asked to do that one separately.
will do that.
That's
I
the
don't know if
next
my
agenda item. I can do it now if you want,
Oh,
but.
no, we'll do it the way you're the expert. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion on the purchase orders that have been presented to this point for approval.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I just wanted to point out that for those who, for the record, the flood damage was not internal to the building. It came from the outside, and it was very unique. So these expenses, though high, it was significant damage, and we're making every effort not to let it happen again. But having said that, some people might say, why is this mounting to such an amount? But it was significant, so thank you.
Interesting that the water came up through the floor with enough pressure that it buckled the floors,
Yeah.
damaged. It was just really something.
We have to replace floors, walls,
Yeah.
floors is concrete,
Paint, even.
subfloors,
Yeah,
carpet,
a lot of work.
all the
Thank you.
layers.
All right, your next item.
This is we're ratifying a purchase that would typically come before the commission, before being purchased. This is for ammo for the sheriff's department. Ammunition has been hard to come by, and they finally found a vendor that they could get some from fairly quickly. So this was kind of emergency type purchase and approved ahead of time. And that was for a total of $19,313.98. And I just found out that they've received the shipment and everything's good.
Okay.
So unless there's any questions on that.
Mr. Chairman, I know that ammunition, for whatever reason, has become very difficult to get, very expensive, and so I understand the reason behind the ratification. I'd make a motion for its approval.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah. Our next item, number 5, is consideration of ordinance number 2021-1172-0, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 4, definitions, removing the term and definition for rural recreation grounds and facilities, also amending Chapter 9, PD Plan Development Zones, removing Plan Development Rural Recreation Grounds and Facilities Zone. Scott.
Yes, Commissioners, as you're aware, land use code and planning is always changing, and our documents are very fluid, and we make proposed changes as the county sees appropriate and fit. The Planning Commission reviewed in their meeting last week the proposed changes to remove, as Gil said, the term and definition for rural recreation grounds, and also how they were approved through the PD code. And so removing that from the code, the Planning Commission held the required public hearing, and they recommended approval to the County Commission. So it's before the County Commission at this time too.
So Scott,
Review.
let's say it's been several meetings ago that we put a moratorium on rural recreation.
Yes.
So that gave us enough time to take a review of our ordinances and meet that. That's what we're doing today. And then what's our next step? Obviously, people can accomplish what they would like to accomplish with their land through other, for example, if you want to put in a campground or whatnot, there's already provisions inside of our ordinances to do that. What this does is really speak to the rural recreation, how it was kind of set up. We've kind of covered that a little bit where, it was set up kind of in a different time when there wasn't as much demand out there. And then suddenly we find these demands, and the infrastructure is just really not there to sustain density and the use that people were asking for. They were doing this. So that's what we have before us today, right?
That is correct. Yeah, and at the time the term was created, the term was in our code. It wasn't defined, and there were several other terms that were used at the time that were kind of combined into this umbrella term. And as we're seeing development and popularity in the unincorporated areas of the county, it's important for us to make sure that we have more clear code to define some of these, rather than just having a vague umbrella term, that we have more definition
definition to it.
Requirements, just to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of
I
visitors and the public.
attended this planning commission meeting along with one of the other commissioners, Commissioner Almquist, and it became apparent in this conversation that as you and the planning commission is looking at reviewing our whole general plan and looking at the different areas, that you want to be able to integrate this so that it integrates into the general plan smoothly and just isn't sticking out like a sore thumb. And I think the last one kind of was, because it allowed it in every zone and had no density. And I mean, it just needed to be tweaked. And so I applaud Planning Commission for seeing that, acting on it. And so,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if without any further discussion, I think this is the right move. And as we go through, like Commissioner Cox says, we're reviewing our entire general plan. We really appreciate the hard work of our planning commissioners and attorneys. Victoria, I see you back there. All the
Thank
hard
you,
work
Victoria.
they're doing. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt, let's see, make sure I'm reading the right one, that we adopt ordinance 2021-1172-0, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 4, definitions, removing the term and definitions for rural recreation grounds and facilities, also amending Chapter 9, PD Plan Development Zones, removing Plan Development Rural Recreation Grounds and Facility Zones. That would be my motion.
And in seconding this motion, I'd like to just acknowledge that by taking this action, we're not bound, we're giving ourselves more than 6 months so that we can do it once and do it right. So with that said, I would second the motion.
Motion and a second. Thank you for the clarification. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Now the work begins, right? Consideration of resolution number R 2021-2742, a resolution providing coronavirus relief funds to purchase equipment for the Emergency Services Office. Thank you. Tiffany, you're going to address this. Thank you.
So Jason apologizes. He got called out on a SWAT
Oh,
call.
thank
he
you,
couldn't
Tiffany.
avoid,
You
so-
can do it.
All right. So they're looking to purchase 3 different items. One of them, well, there's actually 8 water barrels. They're the water-filled barricades, so instead of using the cement ones, they can be emptied, pulled by a truck. It'll be a lot more efficient for them to use those. The second item is for 2 golf carts, and these are for patient transport and possibly equipment transport also. And then an interoperable gateway is the third item, and what that does is it gives us the ability to create a pathway for 2 separate radios to kind of converge on one, and we can patch that frequency so they can talk to each other.
Right, especially as different agencies or different groups come together
Right,
and they're on frequencies, and this basically
It'll kind of know
translates
that,
for
yeah,
us.
yeah. That way, I mean, communications is definitely one of those things that is most important high on our list, so.
Well, we said from the beginning, as we started to pull together emergency response in a higher level, that there might be things that we needed that would fill gaps. It makes sense to me, so thank you.
I'd like to just make a quick clarification. The county's not starting a golf course or anything, but the way this medical team will be set up, it'll be set up in big events. At times, Ironman, marathon, and there will be times when people will need to get from one point to the other very quickly. They need something besides a full-size vehicle to get there, and then be able to get somebody back into the tent and get them the medical care.
Absolutely.
And likewise, they're not just sitting. They'll be used
They'll be used,
in
yeah.
other venues
capacities,
during
yeah.
the off time, so to speak, but be able to be called in when we have the big events.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion in support of consideration of Resolution R 2021-2742, a resolution providing coronavirus relief funds to purchase equipment for the Emergency Services Office.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7 is consideration of Resolution R 2021-2743, a resolution adopting amendments to the Washington County Resource Management Plan.
Okay, Commissioners, as you know, the county a few years ago adopted a resource management plan for giving some background information, some current operating factors, and also goals into the future for how the county manages the land and other resources, water and minerals and such, within the county boundaries. This is the resource management plan. It's part of the county's general plan. The Planning Commission had a public hearing last week on some amendments to the plan. As you know, we have we have occasional work meetings throughout the year to review certain parts of the plan just to make sure it's all updated and has the most accurate and up-to-date information on it. And so these amendments are the amendments contemplated from those work meetings to make sure that they're up to date and information from the Planning Commission.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a comment too, it looks like I beat you to it. We were directed to develop this plan by the state legislature and state statute. And I would like to applaud all of our department heads, attorneys, and things like that, because a lot of times we make plans and we take the plan and we put it on the shelf and it never gets looked at and
Right.
it's never updated and things change and they can always be made better. And I just applaud everybody for meeting with us and helping us keep this plan a living document.
Exactly. I'd just like to echo what Commissioner Cox just said. When I became a county commissioner, I took Commissioner Jim Erdley's office, and there was a lot of binders and documents and different plans that were left there. And as I started looking through them, I thought, the tremendous amount of work that had gone into each one of those documents. And so as we were asked by the state legislature to put this plan together, it really does help us in a meaningful way in the fact that if a county has a natural resource plan in place, then as our federal agencies are putting together their management plans under FLIPMA, they need to consult with our local plans to make sure that they kind of work together the best possible. And so as we took all of that effort and started putting together our plan, it was my fear that we would create one of those plans like I found when I came on as a county commissioner. But I really want to congratulate thank the attorney's office. We have consistently been meeting every 6 months. We've been reviewing this plan. What we're doing today is putting those updates in, and I feel like over the last 3 years, we've continued to make a plan that works and is changed when it needs to be and tweaked. And so I think it's been a good thing, and my fears have not been realized. This plan continues to be something relevant to our county. So.
Well, and some of the local citizens that read this too for their areas have made some suggestions, and our attorneys have included those suggestions, and I saw them in there. So that should make them happy as well. So thank you. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2743, a resolution adopting amendments to the Washington County Resource Management Plan.
And I'd like to second his.
Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous vote. Next, item number 8, consideration of resolution number R-2021-2744, a resolution approving and adopting the updated Washington County Wildfire Preparedness Plan and outlawing all matches, open fires, and dragging chains.
There's a long list of those.
Yes.
So like the resource management plan, this is actually something that the county has been doing since 2001 when President Bush enacted the Healthy Forest Initiative. And along with doing these plans comes grant money. So if we want that federal grant money to do fuels mitigation type work, that was one of the requirements for that. This is the first time we've brought it in front of the commission so it can be adopted, which is good business anytime we have these plans. So it isn't just, we've got a whole lot of binders that have just been sitting on the shelf. But it is something that's a working plan, so it's always being updated. All the participating entities, that cities in our county that participate in our wildfire program also do plans, but our county plan encompasses all of those as well. So they're basically addendums. So the municipalities, with the exception of the Hurricane Valley Fire District, because they do have unincorporated areas, to make it a little easier on them, they just do one plan for the whole district, so they're not doing individual plans for all the cities that are within the district. continually update it. That's one of Tiffany's primary jobs. So we set goals in there. That's what we use that mitigation money that we have to budget for every year to help meet those goals. So it's a working document that we keep updated and got to get signatures every year.
Fantastic.
Do you know if the plan is listed on the county's website? I'm just looking, though, at one of the sections that I notice is a focus of yours, and that is the public awareness and education. That has been posted from time to time, various things, especially as we enter fire season. And it'd be nice, Tiffany, if we could continue to put out information to the public, especially.
We do try to do that as much as we can. We've actually had suggestions not to post our community plan because there's
Right.
specific things in there that you don't necessarily want to be public all the time. But we do actively, one of our goals is to actively work with the local jurisdictions and in the outlying counties to hand out pamphlets and have awareness fairs and things like that, so.
With the under sheriff here, he might comment on how many illegal fires were at just Kolob last year. Do you remember the number?
I don't remember the number, but we had right there, once we put the plant, once the, not that there were no more fires, had a bunch happen in a row, just people visiting from elsewhere.
Yeah, it seemed like there were dozens and dozens of violations just around the Kolob Reservoir.
Finally had to tell our deputies that they need to go out and actively look for fires in the county because it was causing so much havoc.
I think since then, we have posted some signs up, some special made signs just for that purpose to remind people that it's, hopefully those will make a difference more this year.
In Kolob, that did, you know, they would say, what do you mean I can't have a fire? Yeah, the sign right there says you can't have a fire.
There was about 21 of them on the way to Kolob, no matter what direction you went up there from, that said, "I have a campfire."
Just so tinder dry, and even though we've appreciated these rains, they'll bring the grasses up even taller, and we don't get more
We're
summer
still in
rain.
drought conditions.
Yeah.
And if you guys aren't aware, the state put out a RFP bid for a statewide campaign for this year. So they're going through those bids now. I think they said there was a dozen of them that bid on it. So we should see a lot more coming out statewide as well. But we do budget money for signs. We'll be putting up more signs. And we've been working with our federal partners too, so that we're not duplicating efforts there, so that we can do a better job with that as well. Because I think a lot of these issues, I mean, Kolob's like our number one private land reservoir where we've had issues, but the majority of the rest are either state parks or federal lands where we're having problems.
Well, certainly, we thank you for your efforts. Okay,
Thank you.
item number 8, a motion.
I would make a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2744, a resolution approving and adopting the updated Washington County Wildfire Preparedness Plan.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Item number 9, consideration of resolution number R 2021-2745, a resolution approving the interlocal cooperation agreement between Washington County, Utah and Washington City, Utah, in which city agrees to provide support to county in hosting the Ironman 70.3 World Championship, St. George for the 2021 Ironman North American Championship, and St. George 22 and 24 for the Ironman 70.3 North American Championship in years 21, 23, and 25.
Well, that was a mouthful, Commissioner.
I didn't know you're in the tourism office.
I didn't know I was either. No, I'm not Kevin Lewis, but he's actually with the Ironman folks right now, so he
Yes.
asked that I come.
Wonderful.
So this interlocal agreement is between, as you mentioned, Washington County and as well as Washington City. And as we all know, Ironman is a globally recognized brand and a massive event, and we'll be holding 6 of them over the next 5 years. And Washington County needs the help of all the municipalities, and this is the interlocal agreement between Washington County and the city to lend support from the city. They'll be planning and coordinating, providing venues and facilities, police and emergency services, other municipal services, community awareness, and waste management, as well as some traffic control services for the races.
Well, and interlocal agreements are what bind our county together, because we all rise together as these events come, or other emergencies, or mutual aid, whatever it takes. So thank you for drafting that, and it's obviously been passed by others for those individual cities as well as Ironman.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's great. You know, Ironman does put a certain amount of stress on cities and communities and folks as they're trying to get around. And I know it kind of centers around St. George here, but in reality, you know, Hurricane and Washington and all of our other communities have to be team players to make this happen. And I mean, it starts in Hurricane, you have a substantial amount in Hurricane, and it comes through Washington. So it could get a little interesting if we didn't work well together. But fortunately, in our county, that's kind of our culture and our way of doing things, and so it's great.
I will make a comment. We're not trying to bring more of these major things, shut down our highways, impact our residents, incorporated stuff. I think we've got a good, they're very tolerant. When they lose their easy access to some of these events, I'd like to express my appreciation for our residents in the unincorporated areas.
Yes, they make sacrifices. We appreciate it. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2745, and then everything that you just read, that whole paragraph. I don't know quite how that, our attorney's office got pretty wordy on that, but anyway, that's the resolution number, that interlocal agreement. That's my motion.
I'd second.
Great. Item number 9 was Resolution 2021-2745. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
I think their first class in law school is how to bill by the word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Letter, actually.
Why use 10 words when 100 will do?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, our next item is super. Consideration of resolution number R 2021-2746, a resolution approving professional service agreements for school-based therapy for victims of crimes. Christy. Thank you for being here.
You tired of me yet?
Not at all.
Well, I want to shout out to our attorneys who did a great job of helping us with this little project. So thanks, Brian, and our county attorney's office. So we, as you know, have been providing therapy in the schools, and we've had 2 therapists who've been doing that on about a half-time basis, about 20 hours a week each, and one quit, and we have had a really hard time finding a replacement for him and decided to change strategies, and we are just opening it up to any therapist who will guarantee us 5 hours a week. And we're trying to get as many of these in as quickly as we can, and so we're just asking for you to provide a blanket, yes, we approve of this method of doing it, and we'll bring each one of them to you for a signature, but hopefully don't have to wait for the next commission meeting every time we have another therapist come on. I have the first one here waiting for a signature, so which is awesome. It's good news for us. So that's our request, so that we can just try and get help to these kiddos in the schools.
And that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it?
It has been so great. It has. The schools are banging our doors down asking, when are you going to have somebody to come help our kids? So if any of you have young adults in your lives who are looking for a major, we need more therapists. We really do. We need more qualified therapists here in Washington County. It's a problem across the country, but it's especially difficult here right now.
Well, and they're under demand of the whole last year's corona and people at home and trying to figure out finances and babysitting. And I mean, the biggest compliment we can give is to Washington County School District for being open.
Yeah.
And aside from a few weeks and trying to work out things with the teachers to make them comfortable, at least kids have been able to be in school. And
Isn't that awesome? It's been key to have our kids in school, and while we're not providing therapy through our grant for coronavirus or any of those other things, therapists are busy.
Yeah.
And they don't have we're just having a hard time finding therapists who have the ability to give us the hours that we need to help kids who have been victims of crime. So it's a new strategy. Just give us a couple hours and we'll put you to work. So.
And if I might add just real briefly that the agreement and the grant have some pretty strict requirements for the qualifications of the therapists. And so in approving this agreement, what we do is be approving that as these therapists respond back to Christie and the Children's Justice Center, that as they are qualified, that we can use this agreement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have a list of 9 things they have to provide to us in order for us to know that they are qualified. So.
Yeah, it's not.
There's a checklist.
Yes, I'm looking at
Starting
it.
with the master's degree, and getting more difficult after that.
Yeah, it's like somebody who once said, "Now, what qualifies you to give me advice?" And he goes, "Well, I was a bartender for 10 years." Okay, no, that's not a qualifying factor.
No, not a qualification. Maybe we should add it, but no.
Well, you certainly have narrowed it down to get the right professionals you need to, but they'll come. All right.
Mr. Chairman, in making a motion in support of Resolution R 2021-2746, I'd also like to give a call out to Chris for leadership and the fine job that you're doing. It's really noted and it's exceptional. And
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So Resolution 2021-2746. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Christie.
Thank you.
And best to your staff, too. That's, everyone's involved.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Item number 11, consideration of Resolution R 2021-2747, a resolution approving an agreement between Washington County and Transcon Environmental, Inc. for environmental surveys and biological reports.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
So about a month ago, we sent out a request for proposal to do biological work in the Warner Valley area. It was responded to by 8 different applicants, and the reason for the biological inventory is in support of a potential exchange between the Conservancy District, the BLM, and a private inholder inside the reserve. And our interest is in supporting any type of exchange or land acquisition. If we can facilitate that in any way, we've offered to help pay for those services, and so this will help get that private inholder out of the reserve if everything goes through. But this is just the first step of that that exchange. It's just getting the biological inventory of what the BLM has to offer. After reviewing all of the proposals, Transcon came out on top, and so that's who we've written a contract up for the total of $37,629.94.
Very good. All right. Well,
Super, pretty straightforward. We're always working on those in holdings. I'm actually proud of us on how much progress we've been able to make in the last
It's been awesome.
several years. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2021-2747, resolution approving an agreement between Washington County and Transcon Environmental, Inc. for environmental surveys and biological reports.
And I'd like to second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Cameron, thank you.
Thank you, Cameron.
We have some commissioners' reports next, if anyone would like to report on anything.
Oh, I'd like to grab Cameron before he leaves. Cameron? Oh, he already left. I'll have
He's
to call
coming
him.
back.
You snagged him.
Oh, I'll talk to you in a second. I just didn't want you to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, you just can't
And since
leave.
it was the commissioner's report, I thought I'd just take that opportunity to say I need to talk to Cameron. So,
Is there anyone else in the audience you need to talk with?
I'd like to make a happy report. This is like the 3rd time I've seen it snow in St. George in March. And
Yep.
prayers or something are being answered, so that's really positive.
It's
I almost cried when I saw that rain
yeah, it's a big
and
help.
snow. It's been beautiful.
We need some more, so keep it up, and we're grateful. I just think that we'd like to report that everything's been going forward on the county fair, and that we got a tremendous shout out this morning on the Andy Griffin show when he went down almost the entire list of everything coming up, and we talked about admission and parking and all sorts of things out there. So several of those there at the radio station, as well as some call-ins, were saying thank you for having it in April. So we'll look forward to this experiment, but I think it'll be a positive thing. So we look forward to that.
Absolutely.
All right. If there's nothing else, then we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.